One at school. This underprivileged student my mom is sponsoring pretended to be me. At the busy school gate, she beat me to the car, slipping in smoothly and loudly yelled so everyone could hear, "Emma, I know we're close, but being petty about this would just ruin our bond. But hey, our paths don't cross, and you can't always hitch a ride with me, just because we're tight. Asking my family's driver to take you home," she added. Everyone around shot me looks of disapproval. Before, I would have just stood there, blushing, not knowing what to say. Funny thing is, I've just been reborn. So right in front of everyone, I yanked her out of the car, got in, and spit at her. "I've let you live it up for a bit, and now you don't even know your last name. And your family's driver, did he even respond when you called him?" The crowd grew silent as my sharp words hung in the air. I shot a cold, annoyed look at Sophia, who was now in her rumpled uniform after being pulled out by me, before shutting the car door with a bang and telling the driver to hit the road. Outside, still reeling, Sophia banged on the car door, pulling that baseless authoritative tone, demanding I open up. "Miss, maybe this isn't a good idea." The driver turned to me, sounding awkward. "Not a good idea," I scoffed. Sophia wanted me to open the door. "Fine, I'll open it." In that split second when she wasn't paying attention, I cracked the lock, and as she finally got it open, I shifted slightly back and kicked the door as hard as I could. Unable to dodge, Sophia's head slammed against the door as it flew open, and she tumbled out. "Arg!" Sophia screamed in pain from the ground. I leisurely leaned against the door, watching her fall, blood streaming from her arms and legs, a bump rising on her forehead. "Emma!" Recovering a moment later, Sophia yelled at me, her voice desperate and loud, with tears in her eyes, yet she didn't forget to twist things around. "I'm not saying I won't take you home in the future, but no matter how close we are, you can't just ride with my family every day. This is my family's car. Isn't what you're doing a bit too much?" "Too much?" I couldn't help but laugh, pointing at my own nose and snorting. "You asked me to open the door, and I did, right? You didn't get out of the way and hit the door yourself. I didn't even accuse you of trying to scam. Also, since when can you just flap your gums and spout nonsense? Saying this is your family's car. Where's your proof? Open your eyes and look really hard. Do you even recognize the car brand? Wearing someone else's clothes for a few days, wearing someone else's skin. Do you actually think you're someone now?" With that, I stopped wasting my breath and shut the car door again, telling the driver to drive away. Seeing the pained look on Sophia's face as she cried outside the window, the driver looked sympathetic, and my face darkened instantly. "Leo, don't forget who pays your salary. I'll tell my dad everything about these days, once he's back in town. Think about your son, pull back your misplaced empathy, and stop feeling sorry for those who don't deserve it." Right after I said that, Leo's initial sympathy vanished instantly. He originally worked for my dad, but since my dad's been abroad dealing with the branch company these years, he's been sent to work for me. As for his son, he's my dad's assistant, and his wife is a housekeeper at our Alden residence, taking care of my grandma. Their whole family works for us. I understood why Leo sympathized with Sophia. Since my mom brought her home 6 months ago, she's been currying favor with everyone to find her footing. Helping the housekeepers with chores, chatting and washing Leo's car provided an opening for her. Gradually, they all felt sorry for her and took her under their wing. What I just said was a reminder to Leo not to forget who his real boss is and who they're supposed to be working for. Since my dad assigned him to me, his focus should be solely on helping me, not getting sidetracked by someone with a questionable motive. As I entered the house, Grace, the housekeeper, quickly approached to take my backpack. When she saw I was alone and Sophia wasn't with me, her smile faltered and she quickly asked, "Miss, you came home alone. Where's Sophia? Didn't she come back with you?" I didn't answer Grace. Instead, I washed my hands and headed straight to the dining room to eat. The table was filled with dishes Sophia loved, but the curry beef I'd asked her to make yesterday was nowhere in sight. Instead, Sophia's favorite sushi sat right in the center. That moment filled me with a sudden rush of anger, but Grace seemed completely unaware of my growing irritation. Ignoring Leo's attempts to stop her, she kept on, "Might be late today. Why don't you wait for Miss Sophia to eat together?" "Miss, have you been on bad terms with Sophia again? She's just such a sweet kid. Why can't you two get along?" "Leo, hurry back and pick up Sophia. We don't want her getting lost like last time." Grace rambled on, asking questions, but her tone was full of blame. My fingers drummed the table impatiently, as I watched her check on Leo to go get Sophia. Just shut up already. As Grace went about, oblivious to everything going on, Leo couldn't hold back any longer, and quietly reprimanded her. It was then that I finally spoke up, calmly asking her, Grace, where's the beef curry I asked you to make yesterday? Grace hesitated, realizing something, and slowly turned to explain, well, I left a bit late today, and the supermarket ran out of beef. So I didn't make it. If you want to eat it, maybe tomorrow. Is there really only one supermarket in this tiny city? I interrupted her lame excuse with a cold voice. You were late, the beef sold out. But how come the sushi didn't? Is it really unavailable? Or did you just forget and not want to make it? With those words, I picked up the plate of delicious-looking sushi on the table and dumped it, plate and all, into the trash. When I don't get angry, everyone in this house seems to forget who's the real owner here. Grace, since you listen to Sophia so much, why don't you let Sophia pay your salary from now on? I won't repeat myself. Clear all the food off this table. I want beef today. If I don't get it, you might as well pack your things and retire early. With that, I turned and headed upstairs. As I turned, I heard Grace and Leo whispering, "What's up with the young lady today? She never used to care about this stuff." After making a call, feeling exhausted, I lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling. I rubbed my throbbing head. Grace wasn't wrong. The old me wouldn't have cared about these things. But at the bustling school gate, Sophia had gotten in the car ahead of me. Just like always, she yelled loud enough for everyone to hear, "Emma, I know we're close, but hitching a ride all the time, just because we're friends stretches it too far. Besides, we're not going the same way. You can't just rely on my kindness, asking my driver to take you home." With that, the judging eyes of those around us were all on me. The old me would have flushed red, not knowing how to respond. But, by sheer luck, I was reborn at that very moment. In my past life, she impersonated me, intentionally embarrassing me like this in public, driving me out of the car, making my classmates think of me as shameless, and turning everyone against me. I wanted to clear my name and expose her lies at the parent-teacher meeting, but unexpectedly, my mom attended in Sophia's parents' place and declared she had only one daughter, Sophia. I cried, questioning her why. Why wouldn't she acknowledge her biological daughter? But she just waved it off. "Who do you think your mom is? You're just the maid's daughter. We only helped you out of pity. Don't expect things you aren't entitled to." Her words were like a powerful thunderbolt striking me down to hell. With mom's bias towards her, Sophia had no worry anymore. She not only encouraged her sycophants to bully me at school, pushing me towards depression. I wept over the phone to my dad, unloading every grievance. My dad, who loved me more than life, rushed back from abroad, only to perish in a plane crash. My only support, Grandma, fell from the stairs upon learning of my dad's accident and hit her head, dying instantly. Being a minor, everything in the family naturally fell to my mom. After inheriting Dad's company and all the assets, Mom immediately adopted Sophia. To prevent me from being lifted by the company's board, they spread lies about me having a mental illness, committing me to an institution. Under their directives, I was tortured to death there. It was moments before my death that I uncovered an unfathomable secret. All the suffering from my previous life flashed vividly before me. I wasn't about to make empty promises to the heavens. This time around, I was determined enough. Those who hurt me will pay, and those who truly love and cherish me, I'll protect, preventing their past fates. Time passed, and there was a knock on the door. Grace, anxious, called me downstairs for dinner. On the dining table was the beef curry I loved, right in the center. Other dishes had been swapped out, mostly for the seafood I typically enjoyed. Grace timidly glanced at me, calling me Miss to curry favor. I said nothing, didn't even look her way, but sat and dug in, relishing each bite. It was just an ordinary dish, but it took a whole lifetime to savor it. Simply because Sophia was allergic to seafood. Once she came into the Alden household, any trace of seafood vanished from the dining table. Why should that be? She's not the master of this house. In this new life, I'm finally eating the dishes I didn't get before. From today on, every regret from my past life, I'm going to realize them one by one. When my mom returned with Sophia, who had been bandaged at the hospital, She saw me feasting on seafood. The smell seemed to turn Sophia's face pale, and she gagged, then pretended to cover her mouth, apologizing for not holding back. Already angry over me hurting Sophia, my mom's face twisted in rage. She stormed over, knocking all the seafood dishes to the floor, not caring that I was eating. Eat, eat, eat. You have guts. You injured Sophia, and you have the nerve to eat, and at home. Eating seafood. Don't you know she's allergic? What does her seafood allergy have to do with me? I looked my mom in the eye. In a past life, she'd always badmouth me to others, saying I had a nasty personality and an entitled attitude, unlike how well-behaved and sensible Sophia was. But to make her happy, I tried to keep a low profile, never competing or fighting. Still, she'd accuse me of being manipulative and scheming. If nothing satisfied her, then maybe it was time she really saw what my so-called attitude looked like when I got nasty. I aimed carefully, throwing a half-eaten piece of fish at the Sophia behind her. I got it right, hitting Sophia in the face, making her shriek in fright. I let out a cold laugh and scoffed at her. She's just a poor girl coming to our house for food. Why should I, the Alden heiress, cater to her? Who does she think she is? I'm doing her a favor by giving her leftovers. She's always complaining. Does she think she's someone special in this house? She should look in the mirror and see if she's even worthy. I leaned back in my chair, saying the words carelessly. What I said was true, yet Sophia looked like she'd been gravely wronged, her eyes welling up with tears. But I could still tell beneath her mask of being wronged was a grudge she could barely contain. How could I have raised someone as rude as you? Apologize right now. My mom's voice was sharp enough to pierce my eardrums, but I stayed silent, my sharp eyes moving between her and Sophia behind her like I was asking, aren't I right? Forget it, Luna. At this moment, seemingly taking a step forward, Sophia, who looked humiliated, tugged at my mom's sleeve, her eyes red and said, the heiress is right. Even if Luna sponsors me, I'd never be born with the privilege of an heiress. I'm an outsider to this house, only fit to eat leftovers. After saying that, Sophia picked up the half-eaten fish from the floor. With a determined look, she disregarded my mom's attempts to stop her and stuffed the fish into her mouth. It was disgusting to watch, and I frowned tightly. I had to admit, Sophia was ruthless. To secure her place in the house, she'd use any means, driving a wedge between my mom and me to win sympathy. Except, she got one thing wrong. There would never be a need to drive a wedge between my mom and me because from the moment I became aware, my mom never once greeted me with kindness. I used to wonder what mom wouldn't love their own child until I found out the truth before I died. Then I understood why. Luna, the woman I called mom for 17 years, wasn't my biological mother. Sophia, mom cried out in shock, quickly digging the fish out of Sophia's mouth. Seeing Sophia teary-eyed, she immediately comforted her with tender affection. Only after Sophia calmed down, did she remember the culprit behind all this, me. You nasty little wretch. Were you thinking I wouldn't punish you? Look at what you've done to Sophia. I'm going to beat you to death this time. Just try and see. Right when mom's face contorted in rage, raising her hand high to slap me, a loud angry voice echoed from the hallway. The voice startled my mom, her raised hand frozen in mid-air like someone hit pause. Hearing the approaching sound of a cane, Luna's expression shifted to fear. Grandma. I got excited when I saw who it was, darting past Luna and running toward her. Grandma, I missed you. I dashed into Grandma's embrace like a child, thinking about how, in my past life, her death was indirectly my doing. My heart ached painfully, and tears started rolling down my cheeks. Oh, my sweetheart, why are you crying? Let Grandma see. Have you gotten thinner? Don't cry, dear. Grandma's here. I'll support you. Let's see who dared wrong my darling. Seeing my tears, Grandma's eyes filled with heartache. She gently patted my back, soothing me like she did when I was little. After I stopped crying, she fondly touched my face before pulling me behind her, and then she turned to Luna. Her expression immediately hardened. With my son not home, you've grown bold it seems. Had Emma not called me, I wouldn't have thought to drop by. Now I see you're acting like you're in charge here. Grandma led me to the living room, glancing at Luna, who was both angry and scared, but didn't dare speak. Noticing her silence, Grandma snorted coldly, thumping her cane on the marble floor. Luna visibly trembled from head to toe. Mom, it was Emma's fault to begin with. I just wanted to teach her a lesson. Teach her? What right do you have to teach her? Grandma's glare came with a stern shout. She always looked down on my mom's background and despised how even though married, she couldn't maintain the old family's reputation and kept showing off publicly. One day she'd be caught having dinner with some big shot. The next day paparazzi would snap her dining with a young celebrity. In the rich circles, many would mock my grandma and dad behind their backs. In my past life, I knew grandma had issues with Luna and always tried to mediate between them. God knows how many good things I'd made up about her in front of grandma, but got nothing but trouble for my efforts. I don't meddle in your affairs outside, but don't forget, your current status and position are borrowed. Let my granddaughter suffer even a bit more, and there'll be no reason for you to stay here. And you? Grandma's gaze shifted to the Sophia standing beside Luna. For that sharp look almost made Sophia fall to her knees. Terrified, she said, Grandma, don't call me grandma. I only have one granddaughter, Emma. Her disdain for Sophia was clear as day. In a cold voice, she said, I heard you've been posing as the Alden family's eldest daughter at school, right? No, I haven't. Whether you did or not, you know in your heart. Grandma pressed on, not giving Sophia any chance to explain. With another cold snort, sweat was now dripping down Sophia's forehead. After my grandpa passed away when my dad was a teenager, the vast Alden empire was left in Grandma's hands. She ran the business until my dad was able to take over. Back then, the company wasn't the powerhouse it is today. Grandma led it through tough times, steering it to success, no small feat. Decades of ruthless business strategies gave her an intimidating edge, still commanding respect even at her age. I'm putting it out there today, the Aldens have only one eldest daughter. There will only be Emma as an heir. Some people might think about pulling shady tricks. They better weigh if they have what it takes to go against an old lady like me. If I hear again that someone is up to no good, trying to make Emma feel bad, don't blame me for what happens. With that, she pulled me up and instructed Grace, pack the stuff. I'm staying here for a while. I want to see who dares to cause trouble right under my nose. Grandma moved in. The very next day, all the staff were replaced except for Leo. Luna and Sophia were fuming. Dad's hardly ever home, and they had just barely managed to have all the staff on their side. But with Grandma there, all their work was undone. Mom was furious, but didn't dare to throw a fit. Now, every move of hers happened right under Grandma's watchful eye. Sophia had it even worse. She often acted spoiled at home and school because of Mom's favoritism, but with Mom barely able to manage herself, often finding excuses to be away, Sophia lost her privileges. New staff, loyal only to me, surrounded her. Even Leo, who used to be kind to her, avoided her after I had a word with him. Sophia became a ghost in her own home. She still had her needs met, but no longer enjoyed the VIP treatment. Not that she ever should have. She was just a poor student sponsored by the Aldens, after all, yet assumed she deserved princess treatment. Sophia, greedy as ever, tried to wiggle her way back by appeasing Grandma. But her little schemes never impressed Grandma. After having her allowance cut, Sophia finally toed the line. Things were quiet for a bit. It was the most peaceful time I'd ever had. Without all the drama, I could focus on preparing for the monthly exam. Unlike before, where distractions dragged me down and my ranking slipped, this time, I maintained my top spot in the class. After the exam came the parent-teacher meeting. I wasn't foolishly waiting for Luna to show up like in the past. I knew just how reluctant she was to accept me as her daughter. On the day, I was stationed at the door by the teacher to collect signatures and guide parents inside. From a distance, I heard a commotion getting closer to the classroom. I can't believe it. I just saw Oscar winner Luna with Sophia at the school gates, someone said. So, Sophia really is Luna's daughter. The heiress of the family, must be. I saw Luna with her arm around Sophia. They were so close, like a real mother and daughter. As their chatter reached me, familiar high-heeled footsteps closed in, stopping right in front of me. A quick glance showed Luna and Sophia standing there, one with disdain, the other with glee. Sophia peered into the classroom, spotting the empty seat where I usually sat today. Smugly, she said in a low voice only the three of us could hear, "Sorry, sis, Luna was worried I had no parents here, so she came for me. Hope you don't mind. Yeah, sure. I don't mind at all. I pushed the sign-in sheet towards them. Could you guys sign in quickly, please? More parents are waiting. I wasn't embarrassed or upset. Luna wasn't even my real mom. She could go to whomever's meeting she wanted. Didn't bother me. Realizing their attempt to upset me failed, their smug faces faded. Luna bit her lip, hastily signed, and snapped, "Keep up the act, 5 me, ha." Some people just love giving themselves a pat on the back. When Luna walked in, it was like every parent and kid in the class suddenly turned their heads. I mean, she's a famous actress, so it makes sense she'd get a lot of attention. With everyone showering her with flattery, Sophia held herself a little too upright. She kept giving me these challenging looks, but I just acted like I didn't notice and went to my seat. As the parent meeting was about to start, some parents were still straggling in, and the homeroom teacher entered the classroom. The moment they saw Luna beside Sophia, they looked kinda shocked, but quickly asked politely, "Sophia, is this?" "Hello, teacher. I'm Sophia's mom," Luna announced to the whole class, just like in a past life. She looked at Sophia with all the love and adoration you'd expect from a mom. After introducing herself, she sincerely said to everyone, "I'm often busy on set, and her dad is occupied with work, so we hardly have time to be there for her. I hope the students here can be friends with Sophia. That way, everyone can look out for each other, and we can feel a bit more at ease." Her gentle and sincere tone made her seem like a caring mother, and people couldn't help but be moved by her words. "Of course, Ms. Luna, we love hanging out with Sophia. She's as gentle as you are," chimed in some parents, nodding along. As they said this, they glanced my way, as if hinting that I'd be a problem. After checking Luna's identity, the teacher scanned the room and finally looked my way. Seeing the empty seat next to me, they frowned a bit and softly asked, "Emma, where are your parents?" They didn't come today. Even though the teacher's voice was quiet, people could still hear. I was just about to answer when Luna's voice came from the back. "Emma, didn't you tell your parents about the meeting? You need to let them know about important stuff like this." Luna suggested calling them up, feeling all responsible. "Your dad should be out front, waiting. I can call him," she continued, explaining to the curious parents and kids. "Sorry, everyone. Her dad's our driver, and her mom's our housekeeper. I've seen this kid grow up. She's got a strong sense of pride and even asked me to attend in her parents' place, but I turned her down. After all, it's a big deal. Who am I to fill in for someone else's parents, right?" Luna's words were casually spoken, but each one was a jab, suggesting I was ashamed of my parents' jobs, painting me as ungrateful. Sure enough, after she finished, everyone was looking at me strangely, with some parents even mocking aloud, "Not even recognizing your parents. What a disgrace. If it were my kid, I'd want nothing to do with her," another added. This scene was too familiar, almost like it was happening all over again. Last time, because of Luna's statements, I was humiliated in front of everyone. I confronted her, demanding why she'd said those things, why she was treating me like this. After all, I was supposed to be her real daughter. But she coldly shoved me away, accusing me of being broken, mentally unstable. If only I'd known sooner that she wasn't my real mom, I would have handled things differently. "Have you said enough?" I lifted my head, uninterested in their stares and chuckles. This time, I was calm and indifferent, sneering a little as I looked her in the eye. "As a public figure, don't you think what you say might affect both you and others? Can you stand by everything you've said?" "Of course," Luna said, lifting her chin, completely dismissing my words. But she was about to get a surprise. "Everything I said is true. I used to feel sorry for you. That's why I let you pretend to be Sophia out there, but no more. I just needed to establish who Sophia really is. She's my one and only daughter." "Oh, I didn't know you had more daughters out there." A deep voice came from the door. The moment everyone heard it, Luna's confident face went pale. She turned toward the door, disbelief written all over her face, and saw him. Her eyes widened, almost losing her balance. "Honey," she stammered, "what are you doing here?" My dad and grandma were at the classroom door, looking none too pleased. He was dressed in a sharp suit, commanding respect. When he walked in, even the room seemed quieter. Some of the parents who worked for his company stood up immediately and respectfully greeted him, "President." He nodded at them and made his way over to my seat with my grandma. "And you are?" the teacher stammered slightly, taken aback by my dad's powerful presence. "I'm Emma's dad, here for my daughter's parent-teacher conference. The flight was a bit delayed, so I'm late. Sorry about that." My dad's voice was calm, but somehow he always gave off this pressure. "What's going on here?" Some of the other parents seemed confused. I mean, when Luna married into the family, it made quite the news splash. It was all over the national papers and news for months. Pretty much everyone knew. Plus, my dad's been in a bunch of finance magazines, so his face is kinda recognizable. No one's gonna mistake his identity. When my dad walked in earlier, Luna called him hubby. She didn't yell it, but it was clear enough for everyone to hear. Now, all eyes in the room were darting between them, everyone wondering what was really up. Why's the company head saying I'm his daughter? And Luna, as his wife, claims Sophia as her only kid. The homeroom teacher seemed a bit nervous, gulping before saying everything was fine, and kicked off the meeting. Unlike parent-teacher meetings in the past, this one felt really intense. Dad and Grandma sat in the front row, both with arms crossed, frowning while watching the teacher. It kinda felt like they were evaluating the teacher's performance or something. The poor teacher was sweating bullets up there, looking like he might cry. Finally, when he announced the class rankings from the latest exams, the atmosphere lightened up a bit. I got first in the grade, so the teacher showered me with praise and had me share my study habits with everyone. Being a top student, Dad got called to share how he supervises my studies. Dad paused for a moment, then, surprisingly, gave me an apologetic look. "I'm not a great dad. I travel a lot for work, so we've hardly spent time together since she was little. But I'm proud of her. She's grown into an amazing person, even better than I imagined. So today, I want to say sorry to my daughter right here. Sorry for the times I wasn't there, and she had to endure hardships alone." Hearing the apology, I couldn't help but tear up. My feelings were all over the place, admiration, understanding, and a bit of resentment. I admired how Dad handled the company so well, understood why he wasn't around much. It was for the company's employees and all those families, but it didn't mean I wasn't upset. In the past, when I longed for motherly love, I often wondered why Dad wasn't there when I needed him. But all that frustration disappeared when I heard he was on his way back on that ill-fated flight, just to see me. "Dad, I don't blame you." I reached for his hand, feeling its warmth. Maybe, to every daughter, a father's hands are always comforting. With his strong hands, he provided for us and held us together. A lot of parents were moved by this moment, putting aside the earlier drama Luna caused. After I spoke, Dad and I went back to our seats, and the teacher continued with the rankings. As the rankings got lower, the teacher's tone grew stricter, and the room got serious again. Finally, she mentioned Sophia's name, and unable to hold it in, slammed the report on the table. "Sophia's mother, right?" The teacher shot a look at Luna, filled with disdain. Years of experience let her see right through Luna's ploy against me. An adult targeting a kid, that's just low. "Sophia's mom, Sophia's at the bottom of the class. She's dragging us all down. We're a top-tier class, so since she transferred in, could you please focus more on her academics? You parents need to set an example. Don't get caught up in trivial things. If the finals are the same, I'll inform the principal. You might have to consider another environment for her." The teacher's words were stern. Luna looked as embarrassed as she had been smug earlier. Sophia had her head nearly in the desk, not daring to look up at Luna's livid face. Though Luna had spent lots on tutors to help Sophia catch up after transferring, her grades went downhill. In the past, Luna would have argued with the teacher, but with Dad and Grandma watching, she definitely wouldn't dare defend Sophia now. Unlike their high-profile past lives, this time around, the two of them were like rats avoiding attention. As soon as the parent-teacher meeting was over, they slinked out of the classroom in a hurry. I followed closely behind with Dad and Grandma, right until we all got home. Next up, Luna better have a good story ready to explain to Dad how she ended up with a daughter this grown-up. The huge living room in our villa was eerily quiet. Dad and Grandma were frowning, neither saying a word. Sophia had turned into an ostrich, hiding behind Luna and trembling. Sensing the tense vibe, Luna awkwardly forced a smile and started babbling to my dad. "Honey, I know you and Mom are mad at me. I didn't mean to skip being with Emma at the parent-teacher meeting. Emma's the Alden family's eldest daughter, with so many people caring for her. She wouldn't have any trouble finding someone else to go with her, right? But Xiaoye's all alone here, in a place she doesn't know, without a reliable grown-up. Since I'm sponsoring her, I need to be responsible, don't you think? So you decided to tell everyone my Emma's the daughter of a housemaid and a driver. Grandma, clearly fuming, was gripping her walking stick like she might hit Mom with it. You think Alex and I didn't hear what you said outside? Or are you trying to treat us like idiots? If Alex and I didn't show up when we did, my Emma would have really been bullied by you two wretches. I'm not. Seeing that Grandma and Dad had heard everything she'd said earlier, Mom was at a loss. She quickly tried to think of an excuse, but didn't even get a chance before I cut her off. Grandma, in a way, she might not be lying. I eyed Luna sideways, finally ready to spill some truths. Emma, what are you talking about? Grandma was puzzled for a moment, asking. I lowered my gaze. I said there's one thing she wasn't lying about. Grandma, Dad, in a way, Sophia really might be related to me as a sister, I said, reaching into my bag to pull out a paternity test report, placing it before them. Grandma picked it up and read through it cautiously. The moment she saw the section confirming the genetic match as relatives, her eyes flashed with anger. Luna, you've got a lot of nerve. Her Grandma's heaving chest showed just how furious she was. She threw the papers down toward Luna's feet, but Luna quickly bent down to pick them up. Seeing the secret she'd kept so long exposed on that paper, Luna lost her balance for a moment and stumbled down to the ground. No, it's not true. She faked it. This report's fake. Fake. Luna desperately tore the report into pieces, as if that'd hide the truth. She glared at me like she wanted to eat me alive. You ungrateful brat. I raised you all these years, and in the end, you go after your own mom. You're doing all this just because I might favor Sophia a tiny bit more than you. What are you really after? Making up all this so-called fake evidence to harm me? Enough. I was starting to find this all pointless. Even now, Luna remained stubbornly in denial. What's the point? I know you're not my real mom. I calmly stated the fact. And honestly, deep down, you know how you've really treated me all these years. In my past life, they had me sent to a mental institution, torturing me until I was barely hanging on. Right before the end, Luna came to see me one last time. She told me the truth about everything. She wasn't my biological mother. My real mom was Dad's first love. She got pregnant with me, and they planned to marry after my birth. But just a few days before I was due, Luna set Dad up. She got a photographer to secretly take pictures of them in bed and mailed them anonymously to my mom, who was at the hospital. The shock caused my mom to go into labor early, and she died from complications after giving birth to me. Dad was devastated after losing her. He had planned to never marry again. But with Luna unexpectedly pregnant and rumor spreading just as Dad was sorting out my mom's funeral, stock prices for the company plummeted. To save the company's reputation, Dad was forced to marry Luna. However, the catch was she had to abort her baby. The Alden family could only have one heir, and that was me. Luna got what she wanted, marrying into the family and using its resources to become a famous actress. I was too young then to understand any of it, and Dad didn't want me growing up surrounded by the sadness of losing my mom right at birth. So he hid the truth. Ever since I could remember, I always thought Luna was my real mom. To hold on to her standing in the Alden family, Luna always pretended to care about me, but secretly never gave up trying to have a child with Dad again. But since she moved into the Alden family, Dad never let his guard down. No matter what tricks she tried, he never got close to her again. Eventually, Luna couldn't pretend anymore. When I was 15, while Dad was busy overseas setting up a new branch, she brought home a girl under the guise of a charity case. But that girl wasn't a poor child she was sponsoring. She was Luna's real daughter, from before she snuck into bed with my dad, a child from a past romance. To keep it a secret, Luna's mom raised the girl as her own niece. Sophia is 2 years older than me, but she didn't want anyone to suspect anything. So, she forged her identity and made herself appear my age. That's why Luna always favored her. After my dad and grandma passed away in my previous life, Luna couldn't wait to put Sophia under her own name. Sophia was her biological daughter all along, When did you find out? Sophia looked shocked, even a little scared, but I stayed calm. No mom would ever not love her own daughter, I said. I had a loving dad and grandma, so I couldn't believe my own mom wouldn't love me just as much. With that, I stood up, didn't waste any more words, and went back to my room. The rest wasn't something I needed to worry about anymore. I wanted to avenge my mom, whom she had a hand in killing. Yet Luna's actions had been too covert. If I accused her recklessly, my dad and grandma would surely doubt me. So, some things were better left for my dad to uncover himself. Then I could make my move. Dad was quick about it. He didn't bother with divorce papers, but sent her straight to a so-called wellness center. He had once given her a chance. If she signed the divorce papers and left with Sophia never to return, he'd let her go. But Luna refused. She'd rather see things crumble than divorce him, even reaching out to my dad's old enemies to try and kidnap me. Unfortunately for her, Dad caught on, and those involved were dealt with. My dad once asked how I felt about it all. I pretended to think it over and then told him, Luna seems to have lost her mind. You've been married to her for so many years, Dad. You should focus on getting her the help she needs. He understood right away. A divorce would affect the company. If Luna didn't want to divorce, they wouldn't. Instead, they'd keep her mental breakdown private, fabricating an excuse about insanity, and send her to a facility owned by Alden himself, ensuring the company faced no losses. Luna was sent to a wellness center to make sure she couldn't get out and cause trouble again, and to get revenge for me and my mother. I transferred her to a psychiatric hospital abroad a year later. There, they removed her frontal lobe, turning her into a living shell with no self-awareness. She lived on, a shell of a person, in agony. And I didn't let Sophia off either. I had her sent abroad too, working as a caregiver at the institution. Unless Luna died, Sophia would never leave. If they had such a deep mother-daughter bond, then she could take care of her mother forever. After it was all done, I visited my birth mother's grave with my dad. The woman on the tombstone looked a lot like me. Her gentle eyes seemed to gaze at me through the photo. I don't know why, but I started to cry. I thought, if she was still alive, I wouldn't have endured such pain in the past. I would be the happiest child in the world.